When did the world become so obnoxiously dumb? This is the real reason Peter Pan didn't want to grow up.
The system that was using energy to keep itself from reaching equilibrium has ceased to exist.
I can't stand the heat in Townsville. I moved to Townsville from Broken Hill a few years after high school to rejoin my best friend and to escape the intense summers of the outback. Huh, what a joke. Not only are the summers here intense, but there's no real winter to speak of. It truly is a tropical paradise, if that's what you want to seek. Except, I'm a jacket kind of guy. Winter is my favourite season, though it's fair to say I just miss all the 4 seasons. This was only one factor in the decline of quality in my life. It becomes very easy to settle into a life of mediocrity. There's so many elements that go into making life both beautiful and difficult, and for me it was mostly the latter, the difficult route. This is largely because I was intellectually immature for so long. I was introverted and unmotivated. My youth was wasted, looking back, on nothing of note. In your childhood days, a bad era might last days, maybe a few months, possibly a bad year even. But suddenly the 10-year anniversary was in the rearview mirror, and with no end in sight. Perhaps most depressingly, and it's easy to do this in the social media age, I saw other people who had it together, like my cousin Amy Horn. Having successfully auditioned for NIDA, which was my dream, Amy graduated and was now living a fulfilling life doing voiceover work, amongst other things. Meanwhile, I was wasting my days in an after-school job that had lasted so long, now I had long service leave. And then in 2021, Amy had a major role in a major movie called Peter Rabbit 2. This realisation hit me hard. I had to do something with this wasted life. But I realised I didn't want to end up like Blaze Pugh.
What's your ambition, Blaze?
Just to be instantly recognised.
But for what?
Famous for being famous.
Famous for being famous, but not necessarily for anything particular.
Exactly.
Great.
Just famous for being famous.
And Dorothy, do you think that could happen? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Are you guys familiar with Dateline? They voted him Personality of the Week 8 years ago.
Failure's not something. It's not an option. Somebody once said to me, "What happens if you don't fail?" Well, I won't know because I'll probably be dead trying.
I thought maybe I could do something meaningful, become a lawyer, maybe a school teacher, or perhaps a trade unionist like my grandfather Joe.
Joe Keenan's rarely interviewed, perhaps because no one's quite sure how he'll react to a straight question.
Yes, this is my nan's house, way back in 1970. Still looks the same.
As the president of the BIC, you are, in effect, the boss of Broken Hill.
No, I am the leader, not the boss, the leader of the industrial movement. The boss is the people I represent.
So I decided to become a trade unionist. I joined the RAFWU, which was the most radical trade union I could possibly find. And I felt good. This was the new direction for me. I was going to go vegan. I was going to go full-on progressiveness. I went to a RAFWU delegate meeting in Sydney and realised this wasn't me. This wasn't who I was. I'd pushed too far. I'd obliterated the boundaries of what defined me. I'd loved how far I had come and how much I'd learnt, but I had lost the belief system which made me who I was. So I was again lost. When you haven't achieved anything in your life as you get older, it becomes really, really depressing. I mean, I'm never going to become a Kurt Cobain type figure, am I? I mean, what are they going to write in my biography? From 2009 to 2024, he just did a little bit of this and a little bit of that. This really is a universal thing, though, isn't it? People are depressed in the early 21st century. In the closing embers of the 20th century, Tyler Durden premeditated this fact, saying we were raised to think we'd be millionaires.
But we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
I've never been big on forced sentimentality. I was going to make this next part of the video on the last 15 years of my life and how bad they've been, but people have had it so much worse than I've had it. In the end, you've got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. But how does one do that?
We become what we think about most of the time, and that's the strangest secret. This is why thinking is so vital. This is why a goal is so important, because we will become that. This is why people who set goals achieve them. The trouble with men is not in achieving their goals. They do that. It's in establishing them.
When I first stumbled upon Earl Nightingale's spoken word essay, The Strangest Secret, it didn't break through to me. I liked it, but it wasn't world-changing. It was a paradox of needing to understand its message before I could understand what it was actually trying to say. I remember a scientist once said, if I could only pass one piece of information on to future generations of scientists, it would be this. Everything is made of atoms. I mean, I guess they'd have to know what atoms are, but ignore that for now. The point is, from this small piece of information, an entire world opens up. Likewise, the strangest secret is this exact same principle. In this case, a small piece of information, the small piece of information is, we become what we think about. Okay, so back in the day, that was like telling a brick wall. That's what I was like. But over the years, I've analysed myself simply because it's so much fun to do and it's great to learn and you can make your life so much more richer and fulfilling. And see, this led me to understand this, this principle, this you become what you think about.
The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale is that we become what we think about. Your thoughts shape your reality, much like a Buddhist perspective where the mind is seen as the control center of existence. What you focus on, how you choose to interpret it, and the emotions you allow those thoughts to evoke determine the reality you create. Whether it's success, happiness, or failure, it begins with your thoughts, so guard them carefully because they are the blueprint of your life.
Hey, so that's a wrap on this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Sorry for it being a little bit disjointed, but I'm still new to this. The whole point of the video was suddenly realizing that I had to take control of my thoughts, and I know what I want to do. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Hopefully that clicked with you. So if it didn't, then I'll finish up on this note.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sure. But don't worry. You will someday.